The VIX is amazing. It's been making some amazing predictions, and it's making another one right now. We were down on the VIX by 14.5%. It's predicting in the next 2 days that we will have a down day on the S&P 500, either a reversal or a pullback. That's what it is predicting. You have an 85% chance that happens. I told you when it goes parabolic, though, you throw it out. It doesn't always work. I've gone parabolic, so do keep that in mind. But again, the VIX down 14% today, back towards the 10 period. The VIX predicting we're going to have another down day in the next 2 trading sessions, either Friday or Monday. I think that we're going to go and hit and fill the gap on the S&P. I think we're going to those declining 50-period moving averages in the 60-minute charts and towards the 10-period moving averages in the daily. And I think you're going to reverse and go back down and make a new low near the 200 period. And I think you're going to bottom. But the VIX often tops before the S&P bottoms. I think the VIX will turn back up. I think it will get a lower high if we get the sell-off immediately, or go a little higher and then get the sell-off. Then I think you're going to see the VIX spike back up, and it will make a lower high, and that will create this discrepancy in that, just like we had at the bottom, the VIX will make a lower high. And actually we didn't. We ended up getting it. We had one spike low on this doji, this massive doji here. But regardless, again, oftentimes the VIX will bottom before the S&P, or the VIX will top before the S&P bottoms. So I don't think the S&P's bottomed, but I think it's about to. I think we're going to turn down, and then I think you will bottom. Then I think the S&P will probably go make new highs, go make a lower high, and everybody will say, oh, it's over, it's over. And I just want to say, look, people are saying right now, oh, the Fed's going to do an emergency cut. It's the people that never saw this sell-off coming. You know, I warned you this was going to happen. I warned you the sell-off was going to happen. But the divergences on the chart, I told you the very day that the NASDAQ topped, a few days later, the S&P, because they diverged from one another, and we got that lower high on NASDAQ, and I told you the S&P has likely topped. The upper Bollinger Band turned right back below it. My signals turned bearish the very next day with momentum. Nailed it. I think we're going to bottom. Okay, and the people telling us that oh, we've already bottomed, the Fed's going to bail us out, they're the people that never saw this coming and told us it wasn't going to happen, couldn't possibly happen, and they're only freaking out like people in crypto. The same rumor, oh, the Fed's going to bail us all out, and yeah, they're going to do this emergency cut, and then we're going to get the cuts, and then everything's really going to go. That's the narrative that's being, sold here, the snake oil that's being sold. We're going to go down. These people telling us we have a bottom in now are probably going to be wrong. We're going to go lower. We're going to tag the 200 and move below it. You're going to bottom out. Then you're going to get your big rally. Probably the S&P will move to a new high. NASDAQ will probably make a lower high. They're going to tell us, oh, it's over, it's over, it's over. And then the Fed's going to cut. It'll probably be September. This emergency cut is, too late for the people that never saw this sell-off coming. Kind of comfort, and people are visibly shaken. Right now we're getting a rally back up, so they're calming down, and everybody's bullish on the social media sites. The people that told us this wasn't going to happen. So again, I think you're going to get another dump. I think you're going to bottom. My signals remain bearish, but then I think once we get the bottom, you're going to have a massive rally back up, and then I think you're going to complete the topping process. It's as simple as that. Oh, the Fed's going to do an emergency cut, and then we're really going to go. The Fed's probably going to cut in September. We're probably going to bottom here around the 200 period moving averages. The scenario that I talked about previously, oh, Fed, hurry up and cut, Fed, hurry up and cut. That's going to drive it higher. It's going to actually cut September 18th, and then the markets will go maybe a little bit higher with that, or peak with it, and then they're going to collapse. That's what's going to happen. And the bottom is likely going to be down here. The top is going to be up above this high in all likelihood, and you'll see another divergence. You're going to see the top, and you're going to see the collapse, and all this is going to unfold as we move closer to September 18th. If you find that helpful, support the channel today. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site. Donate any amount you want. I don't have any sponsors. The money you made on YouTube is through sponsors. I don't do that. I don't want to sell you a bunch of stuff. You to websites where they want to overcharge you. So I just ask, hey, support the channel. Do what you can. These have been amazing calls, amazing signals. Support the channel today. You want this information, let me know you like this information. To have a 9 count in play that will complete early next week on Tuesday. If it completes, if we close above this level, this bar right here, tomorrow, It will cancel out the count. This is NASDAQ. Again, the count marked the very top. I told you about that at the time. Get rejection off the 10 period and we turn back down. You got to close below this level. If we get a big ugly day tomorrow, this count's still in play. If you don't close below the close from 4 sessions ago, there at the bottom, then the count gets canceled out. So can we resume and complete this count? If you do, then you've got a 9 count possibly setting up early next week surrounding the inflation data. We'll keep our eyes open. The count doesn't have to complete, but it is a possibility that we see price exhaustion. This is the NASDAQ daily chart. S&P's got the same account. NVIDIA's got the same count, a 6 of a 9. Every bar's got to be below the bar from 4 bars ago. Otherwise, the count gets canceled out, and you're going sideways if that's the case. We'll see if we get a big dramatic drop. If the count does get canceled out, we could still close below that 200 period moving average on the NASDAQ, which I believe that will create a bottom. You'll see some closes below it like Bitcoin did in early July, and then you'll bottom out and get a massive rally back up to test the highs. Signals remain bearish. Again, nothing goes straight down, nothing goes straight up. And again, I believe we have a counter trend rally. And I told you that, again, I thought we were going to rally back up and try to fill that gap. We're probably going to do it. Just above it is our 10 period. 50 period is there on the 60-minute chart. But after the next leg down, I think you are going to bottom out. See if we can get a rally. If we do, does S&P try to go to new highs? Now the signals remain bearish. And again, just want to show you this. Again, horizontal support, our 200 period, the 5,000 area here on near that 200 period moving average, and horizontal support 49.53. If we look at this close, you can see the two levels of resistance I'm watching. One directly overhead with this gap fill and our 10 period moving average. You can clear these levels. You got another gap up here where the 20 period is and where our cloud is. That would be a bigger rally. Talking about these two gaps right here. I think we're going to come fill this gap probably later. Could do it right now, but my guess is we're going to turn off the 10 and off the 50 period on the 60-minute chart. And I think you're going to come back down here to the 200, and I think you're going to bottom out and then form a bullish divergence right here, end up trying to form a bullish divergence with whatever bottom forms down here around the 200 or tagging the 200 period moving average. Maybe you don't go below it, but that's what I think is going to happen. Get a bigger rally right now. You could see some green, and then do it like that. If we got a bigger rally right now and then come back down, that's possible as well. But I'm watching these two gaps closely. The overhead resistance is directly, or the first gap fill is directly overhead, which is the resistance. Should you be able to clear that 10 period moving average, you got to be able to you can come up here to the cloud, red dots resistance, 50 period, and our 20 period moving average, which is about to cross the 50. The 10's already crossed it. I think you're going to get a bearish alignment of the moving averages, and then I think you're going to bottom out. Bitcoin is rallying into a 50 and 200 that is about to get a death cross. Historically, when it's done that, it gets another drop, and Bitcoin's 4-hour chart looks identical. I see my latest Bitcoin video. I'll link it at the end of this one, but it looks identical. The 4-hour chart trades around the clock looks identical to the 60, with the MACD looking like it's going to turn back down and maybe form a divergence or a confirmation of a higher low with Bitcoin. More about that, go watch my video. I went through the charts. Pretty interesting. I think you're going to get rejection in this area. You still have bars reflecting the trend that are red. The cloud is still red. You're still below the 10 period moving average. We've had a sharp decline. Nothing goes straight down. Nothing goes straight up. And again, a big rebound back up. Everybody, oh, it's over. It's probably not over until we see a bullish divergence on the MACD in the 60-minute time frame and test our 200 period moving average here. There'll be a lot of interest around the 200 period, so I think we will bottom. Maybe we just tag it. Maybe we take it out. We'll see what happens. If we get a bigger rally, listen carefully. I don't know if we're going to get have the rally terminated here immediately. I think that. I could be wrong on that. But if we do get a bigger rally, you want to be watching this other gap or this low of the gap there, of the gap day after we gapped that low right there, and our 20 period and our 50 period moving averages. So just some levels to be aware of here in the daily time frame. But our signals remain bearish. You could see more and more red bars if we go down, and then try to form a divergence or something, or maybe we don't form a divergence. Maybe we just turn right back up or recycle back up. You don't have to form a divergence here in the daily time frame. You could. again, maybe we get more red bars. You still have red bars, and you've had this powerful rally back up to try to fill the gap. So again, I'm just telling you, look, I don't think we bottomed yet. I think we're in a counter trend. I think a bottom's coming. And after that bottom, I think you're going to get a powerful rally. My guess is you're going to new highs. I could be completely wrong about that. I think it's probably going to probably be that way. These are the levels of resistance I'm looking at on the S&P. NASDAQ's the same thing. The 10 period directly overhead. NASDAQ already filled the gap. S&P has not. But again, I think you're going to see, we've already filled that gap yesterday and did it up there today. But I think you're going to hit this 10 period. You get a more powerful rally. You can go up here. And again, things would still be bearish. That would still be a more powerful rally, though. If we turn off the 10, then again, I think you close below. This was not a close. This was an intraday push. And you'd still get more red bars. Even with this rally, we still have red bars. We'll see if we get green or not and get a bigger rally back up to this other gap. But these are the two gaps I'm watching. I told you about them. We started rebounding off the 200, but again, I'm watching these gaps. I'm watching gap resistance. I'm watching the 10 period, declining 10 period. We're rallying into a declining 10. We're rallying into a declining 50 period, moving average on the 60-minute chart. But then I think, again, you'll form a bottom, down here. And again, maybe you take out this low right here and you move to the low, as we've talked about, from 2020, or the high of 2021 at 16,763 or 4 or something like that for a bottom in that area. But I think when you get the close, start seeing closes below the 200 period moving average, you're going to do what Bitcoin did in early July and bottom out. And then I think you're going to get a monster rally back up to fill this gap right here at 20,400. Daily chart here of the NASDAQ signals remain bearish. We're getting a powerful rally. Expect the selling to intensify once this rally is complete. Yesterday, telling you today, it may not be done. Still may try to go into those 50 period moving averages or even beyond them with these gap fills. So we'll be watching to see how it unfolds, but I do think we will hit new lows. I think the rally will be sold, and I think we will bottom. Now, yesterday I told you that the MACD did not roll over with the gap and trap. Yesterday we had a gap and trap on an intraday basis. We gapped higher, didn't fill the gap. I told you still might do that. We're just below it right now. We're probably going to do that tomorrow early on the session and then start to reverse. I told you I was watching. We broke down from the bear flag. Possibilities, if we rallied back up with the inverted hammer here, is to back test or to, again, still try to fill the gap and hit our 50 period moving average. That's a little green line you see right there. Again, we had a gap today. You always want to watch a gap. Is it a gap and go, a gap and fill, or a gap and trap? Here today on an intraday basis, we had a gap and go. We gapped higher and we just kept going. Yesterday we had a gap higher and we reversed on an intraday basis. It was a gap and trap. But eventually, I think this gap's going to get filled. I think that'll happen tomorrow at 53, 45, 46 rounding up. NASDAQ already filled that gap. As I talked about, bottoming out. Again, I told you I thought we'd get a counter trend back towards these gaps, towards the 50. I told you yesterday that, again, with the break of this trend line, that might be it, that we closed but no cigar. Saw the MACD try to roll over. Things would intensify. We rebounded. The MACD failed to roll over, and I told you it could come up here and still we could get a bigger rally and still have a larger divergence. I talked about this scenario that is playing out yesterday along with the others. But again, I still think the MACD is going to roll over, and I still think you're going to get a divergence. Everywhere on social media right now, it's over. And again, it's likely a counter trend. S&P is going down to probably tag the 200, maybe it drops below it, but probably tag it at least in the low 5,000 area. NASDAQ is probably going to drop below it, but then you're probably going to bottom out. We're in a bottoming process in all likelihood. Here the 200, we're bouncing off the 200 on NASDAQ right now in the daily time frame. But again, nothing's changed. Bitcoin's doing the exact same thing. It's getting a big rally, rallying up into the 50 period moving average. I think these rallies are going to fail, rallying up into the 10 periods in the daily towards them. And I think that you're going to see this roll over. But then I think you're going to get a bottom near the 200 period moving averages. NASDAQ, I think, will take it out, move into the low to high 16,000 area. We already hit a low at 17,300. I think you're going to dip below that to close a couple of closes below that 200. I think NASDAQ's doing exactly what Bitcoin did as it had the June to July 5th sell-off, NASDAQ is following Bitcoin. So is the S&P, but I think NASDAQ is going to take out the 200 just as Bitcoin did. I think it's going to bottom, and then you'll get your real rebound back up. This is likely just a little counter trend. I think NASDAQ, though, has peaked, and the next one will be a counter trend, but it'll be a bear market rally. NASDAQ has peaked. I believe it has. I could be wrong about that, but I have the guts to tell you exactly what I think. Most people don't. Again, I think we're going to fail here. Again, telling you exactly what I think. Remember when I told you exactly what I thought back over here? Told you, hey, I think we're going to rally, and then didn't quite fill that gap, and I told you I think we're going to fill the gap and then sell off. And what happened? We rallied for first half hour of the trading session and then sold off sharply and then capped lower the next day, and we just had this big drop and then eventually got an even bigger drop. So again, nothing goes straight down, nothing goes straight up. I think that we're going to stall around the 50. Here we overthrew the 50 right after the death cross, and again you went back up to just over the 200 to fill this gap. Here the gap is near the 50, so above that you have the gap resistance. So I think somewhere in that area you're probably going to stall out between the gap fill at 53.45 and this 53.80 area. I think you're going to stall out overthrowing the 50 period, and then I think you're going to turn. Maybe we just get above it a little bit and turn. Maybe we get a lot above it. But again, that's what I'm looking for to happen. I think the MACD will roll over. You'll get the divergence, and we'll get a big, ugly drop. And maybe that goes into the CPI. And again, we'll get the CPI next week. Get a big sell-off ahead of it. Then maybe that creates a bottom. Get a big sell-off ahead of it. Then maybe that creates a volatility. Who knows? But again, just technically, as what I'm looking for is rejection off of the 50-period moving average. Signals still remain bearish. I think you're going to get another push down, but then I think you're going to bottom out and probably get a big rally. Can bottom out around the 200-period moving averages. So this is a 60-minute chart. Watch the 50, watch the 10 in the daily. There's gap fill areas right here. Again, my guess is S&P has not bottomed yet. I think it will once we get this divergence chart. Again, you might reach the 10-period. Overthrowing the gap fill area 53.86. I'll show you the 10 period in a moment where it's at. But again, we could see a bullish divergence develop here. And again, still upon it. Now, if we don't get the immediate turn, listen to me carefully. If we don't get the immediate turn at the 50 period tomorrow or at the gap resistance on that 60-minute chart, there's another gap directly overhead. And again, the 10 period moving average just above that. The gap fill here is directly below the 10 period moving average. But the 10 and the 50 is what I'm looking at, along with these gap fills and so forth. But again, I think you can end up forming a divergence before all is said and done. I think the rally it will likely fail. We're rallying into a declining 50-period moving average. And here it is again on this 60-minute chart. We're rallying into a declining 50-period moving average. We're rallying into a declining 10-period moving average. Now, maybe, again, like I said, maybe we turn here. I think you got a good shot that happens. Or, rally as high as gap resistance. If you end up not turning immediately and the rally continues, then you have this resistance level here, which would be the intraday low of the gap fill, and the gap fill appeared 54.47. That would be a much bigger rally should we clear this level. Again, I think you're probably going to try to turn off the 10-period moving average and maybe just above the 50 here, and I think we'll see this roll over, and that reversal could start as soon as tomorrow, but I do think that we go higher. We're watching to see, again, do we get closer to that 10 period, stall closer to the 50 period? Again, I'm going to be looking for a divergence to eventually develop here. Look at the MACD, it's still bearish. We'll probably see the histogram. We'll probably see a sell-off and resume the decline down to the 200 or down to horizontal support at 49.53. 10-period moving average currently, let me just mark it on here, the 10-day moving average 53.61, some change, so almost 53.62. We move beyond the 50 period a little bit higher at 53.61, and our gap fill, remember, is at 53.45, so just above that you got your 10 period moving average there, and you got your gap resistance there. So again, I think you can overthrow the 50, move back towards the 10, or even maybe overthrow the 10 and hit gap resistance. But I think this area, with the gap fill at the 53.45 to 53.62, this area, or this horizontal Gap resistance around the 53.80 area. It's like 53.83. I think these levels come into play, and I think you're going to turn back down and go down to that 200 period moving average, where I think you're probably, again, another big rally. We are up over 3% on NASDAQ, up 546 points. Again, the rallies are being sold. So again, I expect that's going to happen surrounding our 10 period moving average. The 100 period, we're still below it right here. Probably going to take out the 200 period like Bitcoin did at the July low, drop back below the lower Bollinger Band, and then I think you're going to bottom out. But again, if we do go back up, fill this other gap or hit the low, your 100 period is right there at the 18,750 area. Therefore, in our 50% retracement level that we had hit when we were on our way down. But that level, if we can try to fill the other gap or fill it on an intraday basis, then you might want to be watching that level. But this is the level directly overhead, this level right here, that we've already filled the gap on NASDAQ. S&P hasn't done it, so you want to watch the 10 period, you want to watch the 50 period on the 60-minute chart. Again, I think NASDAQ's going to fail here and then come down, and then I think you're going to bottom out, and then I think we're going to rip higher all the way back up here. And I think you're going to get a double top like Bitcoin did, but with a lower high like Bitcoin did. Bitcoin collapsed after we went back up to test that high. In 8 days, it collapsed 29%, and it came back and took out whatever low was made over here. I think NASDAQ's going to do the same thing. I think it's going to rally, and then I think it's going to tank, and that's going to be about the time we're getting that out of the Fed. You know, there's all this call for, oh, let's do it. All the people that never saw this crash coming with Bitcoin and with the stock market. And again, we've dropped 15.75% or so. These people never saw it coming. By the way, I called the top right there at the very top when we closed below the upper Bollinger Band, got the 9 count the day before, got my signals going into that. We were advancing on declining volume. Told you all that at the time. Told you all the sell signals that were taking place. Some great sell signals. Told you this was going to happen. I don't think it's done yet. I think this is a counter trend like this, this, and this. But I think we're going to bottom. Did you hear? Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? I think we're going to bottom, and I think we're going to bottom down here. Then I think we're going to have a rally that's going to take us all the way back up. Signals will have to turn bullish. Again, I think these shorts covered here near the 200. Some of the shorts covered here. They're really got to pounce on it again in this area and push it back down. I told you we can get down here, the buy the dip and the shorts covering. I think we've already seen some of that where they'll push it back down, and then you're going to get more buy the dip, shorts, doing the profit taking, and then I think you're going to get the real rally, the real deal down still, not this fake phony baloney plastic banana good time to rock and roll fake rally, but I think you're going to get the real one. My signals remain bearish. You've got the 10 and 20, they're still declining. You're rallying into declining moving averages. You're likely going to come down into this level of support and probably get some closes below the 200 period moving average here on the NASDAQ daily chart. I think you'll hit this lower Bollinger Band, close below the 200, and I think you'll probably bottom out. Maybe this level of support, maybe just underneath it. Again, just looking at the weekly chart, again, this is the horizontal support from 2021. This level right here is just above it, 16,974. This is 16,764. So again, between 16,764 and the low 17,000 areas where I think you're going to bottom. I think the rally will end up failing, and you'll either come back to this trend line or break it and hit this horizontal support area or this low right here, right around that 17,000 area. So that's why I think we're going to bottom out. Again, nobody thought this was going to happen. Right now on the internet, everybody's saying it's over, it's over, it's over. Here we go. The Fed's going to bail us out. That's a rumor, okay? People that are in pain right now because they didn't see it and they bought into the hype and hopium. Now, this totally caught them off guard. It didn't catch me off guard because I told you, again, my signals were bullish going into these trend lines. I told you that we were going to try to top around them. And we turned right off of them, and I told you that when we hit them, I told you I thought we had a top. Divergences would play out on the MACD, and they did. And again, people buy into, get emotional, and they buy into hype and hopium. I told you we were going to collapse. But then I'm telling you we're going to bottom here. And again, you're going to hear me say what I said over here. Bitcoin, when NASDAQ and S&P bottom out, I'm going to say my signals, when they turn back to bullish, my signals are bullish. We're going back to fill the gaps. Just like I said over here, signals are bullish. We're going to test the trend lines. And you're going to hear me say the same thing because, again, nothing goes straight up. Nothing goes straight down. You're likely going to form a bottom here, and then you're going to get a big rally back up that's going to retrace most of this move for NASDAQ, probably recover all of it for the S&P 500 if I'm correct and we go higher. I could be completely wrong about that, but I do have the guts to tell you exactly what I think, just as I told you back up at the top when I called the top the day after the top, again, which I was predicting that CPI sell-off, and I told you that very well may give us a top. Again, had the guts to tell you exactly what I think. Like the S&P 500, again, I think you're going to turn back down. Now, we had a little bear flag form, and we broke down, and we went back up. Again, S&P, I think you had a little rising wedge type of a pattern. You broke down yesterday, but then you got back up. You're right back underneath the low from the previous day.